All right. How are you? Like, what are you doing?
I'm just working on some stuff. What are you doing?
Doing a podcast. Well, not a podcast. I always slip on that. I don't know why. But are you all excited? We haven't done a show together. You know what? I keep saying this. I go back to all these shows and I'm like, you know what? We haven't done a show together in a while. Starting to see our routine.
Yeah.
Last week? What was the last week? What was last week?
I can't remember, but we did one.
Yeah,
that was. I can't remember who it was, but yeah, it was, and it was a lot of fun.
Apparently, but you don't remember who it was. See, that's why you got to get a calendar like I have, Dominic. You just look over and you go, "Oh, that's who it was."
Yeah,
we had Popcorn on last week.
Yeah, that's good. I remember Popcorn. I do remember that.
Right? Do you remember Popcorn?
Yeah, it was cool.
I had Dean on too on Monday. You missed that one. That was a good one.
Dean LeBray?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I like him.
Yeah, he's a pretty cool dude. But we have a great. So everyone, welcome to Late Night Restaurant Show. Dominic, you seem quiet.
I'm just waiting for you to fuck up, Jay. Sorry. Well,
and you wonder why people are like, "Where's Dominic?" when I'm out at events. I'm like, he's patrolling my fuck up list.
Isn't that why you hired me?
Exactly. That's why you're on the payroll.
Attention to detail.
The attention to detail. You pick out more about what's happening back here than my new wardrobe or my old wardrobe. It's coming back.
Yeah.
What?
I think I have that same shirt.
Do you got the same shirt? Do you imagine if we wore the same shirts? Anyways, we've got a great show tonight, everyone, and we're pre-recording this, so if you're watching this, sorry, it's not live. Well, it is live, but it's not. We've got a great guest tonight. Don, we haven't done a show in a while. This great guest I've known for quite some time. I got to spend some time in Chicago with him as well. I've seen how many people love this guy. He's crazy. And today they postponed it for a day or so because it wasn't perfect, which is fine. There's nothing wrong. There's no rules, but he's releasing a book.
Cool. Yeah. That's exciting.
Yeah, it is. It is. I always wanted a book.
Well,
but I would never get a book done with you.
No, yes, you would. Well,
no way. There's no way.
We're gonna learn. We're gonna learn how.
There's no way.
How hard?
You'd get through the first page, and my phone would be ringing.
You know a lot of stuff. I think Monty knows a little more. So.
Is it a contest?
No, it's not a contest. But I think you're.
But he's got 20 years on me.
He doesn't have 20 years on you. Monty's like 54 or something, 51 maybe. I met him in person.
He's in his 30s. What are you talking about? I don't know why you aged him that fast. Right? I know, but you'd get through the first page, and then you'd be like, the phone would be ringing, and you'd be like, okay, you spelled this fucking word wrong, Jay.
Well, there'd be somebody else who's going to do that. My spelling's no good either, so it's just slightly better.
I was going to say it must be bad because mine's horrible. You pick stuff out all the time.
I did English 3 times in grade 11.
You know what? I did it once, but I tell you, like they always said, when I was in high school, the thing for me was your report card came with a bow on it. So anyways, welcome everyone. We're going to have a great show tonight. I can't wait to get this legend in here. And he's 40. I think he's 40. No, he's 34. I think it is what I read. But anyways, we're going to have some fun. So hold tight. Here we go. Monty.
I love the new intro.
Do you like the new intro?
Yes.
We had a different intro, but Dominic doesn't even know this.
What'd you say? In Canada, that is.
What city in Canada? We're not just I'm Canada's restaurant guy, but we're worldwide. I don't know if you know this, but next week we're doing one from Australia, just FYI. So we're worldwide.
Monty's joining us from somewhere sunny, I'm pretty sure. But
Florida, apparently. Well, every time I say Florida, Dominic always goes back to the time when we had Jordan on. I said, "Hey, do you know Monty?" And Dom's like, there's more than like 10 people live in Florida, Jay. And he freaking knew you. That's the funny part. But then he knew you.
Yeah. I had the pleasure of hanging out with Dom in person here in the Tampa area. He was down on vacation. And
I was working, if the CRA is listening.
He was working. He
wasn't.
He was doing research.
We talked business.
And unfortunately, I think I was a bad example for him because he did not smoke cigars. But I
do now, though.
Seriously? Are you addicted?
I had 2, I think, with Monty. And then I had another one with my brother-in-law. And then we were in Toronto a few days later, and we had some there. And then I was in Thunder Bay about a month later, and I had 3 or 4 there. And now I'm thinking of that store that you took us to, that place. And then we went to another one before we left Florida, actually, in near the airport. I can't remember what it's called, but really swanky place. Beautiful.
Swanky?
Yeah. Oh, Jay.
What's the 1960 terminology?
Hey, Dom has it going on, man. He's
swanky.
He was the coolest guy. We were at Cigar International, and he was the coolest guy there by far.
Well, it was you, Monty. You were.
No, Dom. I've been to events. You're the coolest guy in the room.
I don't know if you saw our picture together. Monty was looking pretty cool, man.
Hey, I did because I think it was cold up here, and you guys were sending me pictures of warm.
That is true.
Yeah,
and we will continue to do that, Jay, just so you know. I'd like to thank you guys. I don't know if it's my makeup artist or this digital programming stuff going on, but I'm actually 60.
Wow.
Whoa. I know. That's a lie.
So I do have probably 20 years on Jay.
It's a lie. He's lying. There's no way.
Monty doesn't.
Have you seen this guy? So when I got to tell the story. So we're in Chicago, and I'm over at our studio space they gave us, and we're doing some shows. And I look over my ear, and I see this guy, and I'm like, I think that's Monty. Sorry?
You look over your ear?
Oh, sir, like I look. Okay. I look over the area. Okay, I look over the area. And I see this guy, and I'm like, I think that's Monty. And he is like beelining to the show. Like I've never seen someone walk so fast and not run. You're speed walking. It was so cute.
Well, the funny thing about that is Robert Irvine lives in Tampa, and
that was it.
Yeah. We tried to get together for a very long time because we're both in the Tampa area. And he travels 330 something days a year, and I travel the other 30. And every time he's in town, which is 30 days a year, he'll reach out and go, "Hey, I'm going to be at the Tampa Bay Food and Wine Festival. You want to meet up?" And I'm like, "Shit, I'm in another state right now." Right? So we've been talking about like having dinner, getting together for a very, very long time. And so he was at that show over at the Grubber booth because he's invested into that. And I was like, I am not missing this opportunity. So
he beelined it. Yeah.
Yeah. And we spent 20 minutes together or so. Then you walked up because you're not quite as fast as me. And
it's that 30-year-old in you, Monty.
Yeah. And Robert's like, "Yay!" And so that was fun. The three of us kind of hanging out.
Yeah, I know. That was a picture moment.
Yeah.
I didn't get. So you got a book, Monty. Let's talk about the book, because this is a big day for you. I know you didn't release this today because perfection's important, but you are releasing a book. Is it going to be out tomorrow?
So here is how Amazon kind of works for those of you thinking about writing a book. And if you are, I will give a shameless plug for Christian Fisher and his company, because the book would still be, months out if it weren't for them. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about that story in a second. But basically, anytime you decide to make a change, it goes through the process again. Everything has to be
approved, right?
By Amazon and approved. And then once that's done, if you don't have something else you want to change, it will go live. And so the plan was to be done and have it go live today. But Christian is a very detail-oriented person. And at one point, before that, because that was the final straw. At one point, Robert Irvine agreed to write the forward. And so I'm like, we got to stop. We can't put this out until we have it forward. So that kind of slowed it down for a minute. And then I would go, hey, Christian, I want to add this paragraph or this picture. And when you do that and you download it into the template and the format, for everything shifts, right? And so Christian, being very, very precise, he's like, okay, by shifting that a paragraph, now you shifted the whole rest of the book. And now the picture is half on one page and half on another. We have to fix that. Or I would add a page. And he goes, well, now your chapters don't start on the right-hand side, so we have to add something for that. And so it went back and forth, and so we kept making these changes. And then finally, I'm like, okay, we're good, right? And then he goes, no, I think the back of the book is a slightly different shade of black than the front.
Oh, wow.
And
Dominic, you get that all the time.
I'm like, I don't care. That's, 50 Shades of Gray. Let's have 2 shades of black. Right? So, but him being the perfectionist, wanted to fix that, and so and then the other thing, he goes, "Hey, let's add a hard copy." I'm like, "Okay," and then you have to go in and you're tweaking that, and that's a little bit different. Yeah. And then you have to decide, okay, what are we going to sell this for? And then it's a little bit of work, right? Yeah. But it would literally still be on the edit floor if it weren't for his team. I had an edit, because when I write, I just write whatever's in my head, whatever's in my brain. I just write.
Were you a writer, Monty, when you were younger?
No, I never was a writer. My wife is a phenomenal. She's got punctuation and grammar and everything down perfectly. She was a school teacher. She hates my writing. She's like, you write like a second grader, right? Because all these ideas are coming out, and I'm not editing as I go, because I don't want to mess up the flow. So I wrote the entire book without an edit, and said,
holy smokes.
Yeah. And then said, okay, editor, that I hired someone to do the final edit. And I go, okay, here. And she got it done for me in a week. She was amazing. And it's also not like 20 pages, Dom. It's 100 and 150? 156.
Wow.
So
that's a big book.
Yeah, and it had to be kind of adjusted, because some of it I got from an article I wrote in Shift Happens column, and so you had to kind of make it all fit, right? So it took a while. But then once I had that, I handed it over to Christian's team. Christian Fisher owns a company called Premier Hospitality Publishing, and they only work with restaurant owners and restaurant chefs and restaurant managers and people in our industry to put a book out. He thinks every single person should write a book. So Dom, you're on the list for a book writing. Yeah. So are you, Jay. And I know you and Christian have already talked about that, Jay, for you.
Yeah, I'm a little ways away from that. Like, I'd love to write one, but I'm not a writer, as Dominic can tell. A lot.
I think Monty's probably going to guide us a little bit here in his own journey, in that he really brought all his ideas to paper, and then somebody can bring that all together. Your editor, obviously, and she turned it in. What did your wife think after the edit? Is what I want to know.
Yeah, like, did you get an A?
No. Well,
probably a D first, and then
so if my wife and I could have made it through this process, she would have edited my book. But she's, one of the things I had to tell the editor, and I think that, my wife wants the best for me. And so she's going to be tougher and, everything else. But I told the editor, I said, look, I'm going to put this on a Google Drive sheet, and you can make notes of the edit and recommendations, but you're not touching the manuscript, because what I didn't want, and I think my wife would find a better way to write a sentence.
Yeah.
But I didn't want it to not sound like me. I had enough people that had read my blog, that have read my music.
Oh, okay.
That's very smart. Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't want, if I'm going to let someone completely change it, you might as well use AI, right? But I wanted it to be my voice. And so I told the editor, look, you can put the suggestions on the side, and then I'll drag them or approve them or whatever.
Oh, that's cool.
It was a really cool process. Yeah. And so she got it done in a week, which was awesome. And
how long did the overall process take, Monty? How many months?
So here's the funny thing. Once I wrote the book took me a couple of years. And honestly, if I wasn't working with Christian's team,
wow,
I would still be writing, because he basically said, you need to finish the book now. We need to get this out. And so
everybody needs a coach, man.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Really, you got somebody that knows.
You got coached.
And you got coached. Here's what the process is. Come on. And somebody's pushing you or talking to you or encouraging you. And
but did you? I think everyone needs that, but not just in writing a book, Dominic. But I think the fact is, sorry.
That was my point.
Was that your?
I think he was saying that's what I do. As a coach, right?
Coach me on that, Dominic.
That's what he schooled you, not coached you.
Thanks, Monty.
But to Dom's point, that's how I work with my clients, my restaurant clients, is to kind of help push and guide and be more like a spotter, in a gym where I'm helping them lift the weights and making sure they're showing up. And all that. So to answer your question about how long it took, so Christian has a program through Premier Hospitality Publishing that you can write a book, edit it, and get it to print in 8 weeks.
Wow.
And there's a system. He's a system he takes you through. And so he's got master groups that can kind of work on stuff together. He has a guy that's further along than me that's written several things. One of his last books, he made $400,000 off of, between all the extra things outside of the book.
Nice.
And so they help you with that process. So I have this gentleman before me who's ahead, and I'm like, I got to try to catch this guy, man. He's killing it, right?
That's speed walking.
And then on my Restaurant Success podcast earlier today, Scott was the host of that and interviewed me. And Christian said, okay, Scott, you're next, right? And so now Scott's chasing me and I'm chasing Peter. And
that's cool.
But it's this community of people that can work together and push each other and everything else. So once the book was edited by the person I hired, I turned it over to Christian's people. Anne, who works with him, did kind of a final edit and then proofed it and set it so that it was set up to be in Amazon. Created a KDP page and everything else. They're creating an author's page. One very cool thing that you don't know about yet, Jay, our podcast that we do, Restaurant Success Club, that you take the LinkedIn Live version and edit it to Apple.
Mm-hmm.
He has connected that on Amazon Audible. So our podcast that we do that you produce is now on Amazon as well. That just happened
very cool
2 days ago. So he has all these things he can do. So he's like, okay, let's do a hard copy. Let's do a soft copy. Let's do a Kindle. We're doing an audio. He said, let's create a journal that people can scribble their ideas and notes. And as they try some of the things in the book, they'll have a journal to kind of write what worked, what didn't work for them. We're going to do Ann called me and said, you got to do a 7-day challenge. So in about a month, we're going to do a 7-day challenge where it's a free thing that restaurant owners that get the book can sign up. And there's going to be something every day that I'm going to get on about regarding the book. And then they've got stuff they got to do, right? It's a challenge. And then we're going to have some final day success stories and stuff. And then from that, anyone that wants to do a super deep dive master group course, that's 8 weeks, not 7 days. That's going to be 8 weeks. They're going to get a video every week. There's going to be, they'll get
that's cool.
They'll get an autographed copy of the book. They'll get the journal. They'll get the workbook. They'll get a T-shirt. They'll get an 8-video course that goes along with that. And then they'll be in a once a week. It'll be a Q&A with me. There'll be a Facebook group page so they can kind of share ideas with one another. And then finally, they also will get a 1 hour Zoom coaching call with me for anyone.
Holy smokes!
So, yeah, so it's about $1,000 worth of stuff that they'll be able to get for $497.
Nice.
Yeah. So these are the kind of things that Christians people do. Not only do they get your book out there and give you ideas like, hey, let's do a journal, let's do a workbook, but then they have you create these masterminds, these 7-day challenges and like that. And then from there, I'll have some speaking engagements that'll come out of the booking and hopefully some coaching clients that come out of it. So it's a really cool program. He's doing another, I've got the dates. He's going to do like a single day live thing. August. I'll tell you right here.
A live event? Is that like online? Like,
yeah, he's going to do I think it's a Zoom thing or something, but he's going to do a free live event. It's the Book Writer Club. He's going to do a session on August 19th and one on the 22nd. You can sign up for those by going to www.bookwriter.club.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, and then he's going to do a 10-minute webinar with Book Writer masterclass.club. And then he's going to do an actual thing where a group thing where he's going to coach you in how to get your book out in 8 weeks. So just a phenomenal course that I think that everyone should go to. And what he does, you can do kind of a coaching thing where you get a call with him every week, but you kind of do everything and he kind of tells you what to do. Or for those of us like myself that are really dumb when it comes to tech, they have a do it all. And that's what I signed up for. Was I gave them, other than writing the manuscript and coming up with basic idea of the cover, his team did everything else. So
gotta get one of those teams, though.
Well, I think. Well, no, you don't have to get them because they're out there. Christians got it, right? Monty just went through it. I think that, and that's Jay. When we talk about like what Monty's gone through and what we've talked with a lot of other people, restaurants, in this case, if they wanted to write a book, because there's lots of stories to be told out there, they need to leverage the tech, the services, the expertise that's out there, and many don't do it. to their detriment, right? Well, in this case, you're years ahead of getting your book out. I'm assuming because you said you started going there. I was 2 years in, and it might have been another 2 years.
Yeah,
right?
and it was 3 weeks.
Right. There you go. Okay, so yeah, the teams are out there, the tech's out there, the expertise is out there. I think people I think I say this every time, people don't go and look for it, or they really don't even know that it's there, right? If they went and looked, they might find it. But I think a lot of people say, well, holy shit, who's going to help me write a book? What do I do? Where do I start? And then in this case, specifically to the hospitality industry, now you're getting into some pretty specialized stuff that's, but it's successful. So it's
cool.
And
if I would have had to go back and forth with the changes that, needed to happen, I would have given up. And Christian said that's where most people don't end up getting a book out, right?
Because it just gets bogged down,
and they just don't know what to do and how to ramp it up, But yeah, highly recommend. I know Jay, you're looking to work with him. Dom, I think that if you're doing some trade books on safety sanitation stuff, I think that, depending on what curriculum you already have, I think that there's a great opportunity for you to put some great work out there from the knowledge base that you have on stuff.
Well, thanks. I appreciate that.
Yeah, I just enjoy that moment.
Yeah.
So
that's why I come on the show, Dom.
Yeah. Way to go. Thanks. Anyways, so Monty, I got questions here for you. I got some questions here for you. Okay. I was all prepped and ready. Here we go. So I got these. This is the yes or no answers.
I was drinking coffee, but you guys made me pour some bourbon. So
yeah, perfect. But Jay, not yes or no.
What's
the name of the book, man?
Oh yeah, maybe we should talk about the name of the book.
You need to.
That was you. It wasn't me. You usually ask the damn questions and the good ones.
For a minute, Monty. What's
the name
of the book, man?
So the book is called Shift Happens.
Right.
And what's funny is I thought it was a pretty catchy title.
Your blog is Shift Happens too, right? Or
my column. Yeah.
Your column, yeah.
Yeah. I thought it was a pretty catchy title. Turns out there's 7 books called Shift Happens on Amazon. So what I'm going to do when I launch it is I'm going to market it with the link to my page to make sure you don't go buy the wrong Shift Happens book. But apparently there's a lot of shift that happens in our world because there's 7 books about it.
Well, can we talk about what's it about?
Yeah, sure. So
I'll get through the basics before we get into the question.
Yeah. So there's a little bit of a memoir in there. I start off chapter 1 talking about the mindset needed to embrace change and how we're fearful of change and we fight it and we resist it. And but we know it's coming, right? There's always change. Mm-hmm. That's the only constant. So I talk about how do we prepare for that? How do we embrace it? How do we work through that? What does that do from a mindset perspective? Mm-hmm. Because later on in the book, I talk about false beliefs that we've had. And if I don't prep the audience for, hey, get ready because I'm going to blow your mind and we're going to have to shift your mind on some things. Mm-hmm. If I don't kind of prep them for that, they're not going to be able to really follow me on that journey. So we start off with that. Then chapter 2, I talk about perseverance and how there were plenty of times I wanted to give up the writing of the book, the coaching program that I do. I burned out at one point in my career and wanted to give up. So I talk about perseverance in chapter 2 and how our industry is a marathon, not a sprint. You've got to figure out that pacing. And then chapters 3, 4, and 5 is more of a memoir of kind of my journey. And I get pretty real. Not everything in those chapters is positive, which is weird because I try to be a very positive guy. But I didn't want people to read the book and think, oh, Monty sits on top of the mountain. He's Moses. The 10 Commandments were handed to him. I was down in the valley for a lot of my career, right? And so I wanted them to know that I've been where they are and I know the struggles. And so I share some things that aren't the most flattering about me. I share some things that aren't the most flattering about some of the bosses that I had. And then from there, the next 7 chapters are 7 false beliefs that we have believed for 50 years that have destroyed our restaurant industry. And these are the things that make it to where 20% of restaurants fail within the first year, 85% fail in the first 5 years. Margins are super thin. And it's because we believe this dumb crap for 50 years, and that's how we ran things. So each chapter mentions a false belief, and then the rest of that chapter, I talk about different strategies to use instead of that way of thinking. Because the book is called Shift Happens, 7 Strategies to Help Your Restaurant Crush the New Economy. And so,
that's a good title.
Thank you.
That's a good title.
New economy, and yes, there's been inflation, and yes, there's been labor increases and shortages and all of these things. But, with AI and tech and, a new work, the people that are in the workflow today have a different mindset and want different things than what we wanted 30 years ago. So how do we set ourselves up to be successful in the new economy and moving forward? And then remembering that, hey, look, things are going to change again. So don't think this book is like the one-stop shop. All your things are solved, because we've got to, just like a surfer. I grew up surfing, and you got to be able to.
Whoa! You grew up surfing?
Yes, California.
Fuck, we got to come back to that in a second. Keep it story, Monty.
You gotta time the wave, and you gotta catch the wave, and so we need to be able to like see the wave coming before it gets there with things like AI and things that are beginning to happen. And then at the very end of the book, I talk about the last chapter is kind of like a little bit of where I think the industry is going, and it's great. It's it's a story. It's the story of my career, my ups and downs, my challenges, my struggles. I went through burnout. I went through divorce. But it's a happy ending. I came out of that not being a lousy boss and manager, and not being task focused instead of people focused. And so the last 20 years of my career was completely different than the first 5. And now I get to share that knowledge and experience with restaurant owners that I coach.
Monty, can I ask you something before we get deep into on that last point? Do you think are new restaurants, what was it, 85% failure in 5 years?
Yeah.
Oh, if not more, yeah.
There's people out there like you, smart people, been around, seen the shit, got past it, learned something. And there's lots, right? There's successful restaurants. There's successful operators. What stops people from seeking out that? What stops people from saying, "Hey, I'm going to go talk to somebody who's successful at it"? Is it our own sort of pride that we don't want to talk to somebody about it? Is it fear of, "Hey, you know what? That person's not going to talk to me"? What's the roadblock in saying, I need to know what's ahead? And I'm not trying to sell your coaching services here, but what's, in essence, I am, because why would people not seek out, read the book? I don't think we do enough of that sort of education. We're a training company, but I don't think people, they get bogged down so badly. Why won't they come and say, "Hey, help me"?
I think that's a great question. I've actually never been asked that before, so that's
really
a good question. I think there's a number of things, and this is just me spitballing because I've never been asked that before. I think it's a number of things. I think that COVID caused a lot of senior veterans to leave the industry because they went and looked for something else while they were out of the restaurant. Mm-hmm. And they realized that their skill sets could be utilized in other businesses. And they didn't have to work nights and weekends and holidays, and they didn't have to work a 60-hour work week and, deal with, servers calling out and all the things that happen. So I think that's number one. We lost a lot of very, very knowledgeable, wise, talented senior vets in the business. That's the first thing. So I think that the amount of people that have been in the business as long as I have and are still in the business because they sprinted, right, and they didn't make it that long. I think that's the first thing. I think the second thing is most people have their head down in the business. They're not working on it. They're working in it. And they feel like they don't have time to breathe. Yeah. It's kind of like the server that is totally in the weeds, right? And you as the manager go up and go, hey, what can I do to help you? I don't have time. I don't have time. But if they can stop, first of all, they probably don't have as many things that they think they have to do if they stop and count them, right? And so if they can stop and say, okay, well, I haven't greeted this table. These people need their check. I need to go check and see what's taking so long on this table. And no one's even dropped waters at this table. Okay, well, the manager can go, okay, I'm going to get the busser to drop water. I'm going to go check on your food. And I'm going to run by and say that you will be right with this table that hasn't been greeted, right? Boom, 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 boom. It's done. It took seconds. But the frantic server is so in the weeds that they can't see the forest through the tree. And so they think it's worse, and they don't take the 5 seconds to say, hey, I need help. And it's very much that way with restaurant owners. They get, they get stuck in the middle of it. Somebody calls out, well, I was going to work on this, but somebody called out, so now I'm bartending, right? That's the second thing. The third thing is, I think that there's a certain humility required to say, hey, I need help.
Yeah, I agree.
And what's interesting to me is my clients are some of the smartest restaurant people I know. I've got a client, Nick Fosberg, who's probably one of the best marketing people I've ever seen when it comes to restaurants, right? And so the really smart ones know that they don't know everything. I know that I'm not saying I'm really smart, but I know I don't know everything. And I've been doing this for 25 years, but I still read books, Some of the knowledge that I have is because I read books. I didn't just experience it,
I think a lot of people don't, and I do this all the time, and I get cranky about this stuff, but I don't think people work. I don't think they practice or learn the continuous learning of running businesses or being leaders in this space, let alone business itself. You have to work on it. The world is changing. The industry is changing. Everything's changing. And a lot of people just don't go and don't have that continuous learning side. You have to work it like a muscle, Monty. And I find so many people don't do that.
Yeah.
And we wonder why I'm done with the industry not making money and people dropping, because a lot of people are figuring it out. I hate to say it, but they're figuring it out with coaches like yourself.
There's 15% of the market is doing great, right?
Yeah.
So how do you, identify that? So another thing is, I think a lot of the really smart people own their own restaurants and they're crushing it. And so they're not giving advice to other people. And then the final thing is, until recently, nobody really knew how to tell the world that they were offering the service.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So for me, I write books. I write a column. We have a podcast. I'm working on a second podcast. I write a newsletter. That's to let the world know that's for two reasons. One, I want to help as many people as I can. I want to try to change how jacked up our industry was. And so being able to share to the masses gives me a broader audience, right? But I can only take on a certain amount of clients because of my time. So if I can help seven clients at a time as in high performance restaurant coaching, then what do we do to help change the rest of the world? And so when I started trying to have that kind of mentality of giving back, that's when people started knowing who I was and what I did. And my clients are coming from a lot of the free knowledge that I've given out, that they've oh, this guy does that. Let me reach out to him. So
yeah, that's the thanks for the answer, I guess, is the first thing. But yeah, I think back to the whole thing. If people, they get out of their comfort zone a little bit, don't be afraid to ask for help. Read a book, read a column, attend a trade show. We've talked about that. There's lots to learn. And I think to your last point, it's easy to access that information now. It's much easier than it was 20 or 30 years ago. Yeah. And the ability to reach not only people like yourselves, but you have you do a podcast with somebody that's from over in England or the UK. We've got a guest on from that's coming from Australia or something next week, or New Zealand. I can't remember, but
Australia. Thank you for listening to me.
The Australia. The world is at our disposal now.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, here's the thing too. I think we have to also. I think the world is, and I think we have to look at it that way. Like we have to look beyond the lens, and I don't think we practice it. I don't think we practice it enough.
I also think people think we're too expensive. If I'm an expensive consultant. If you want to hire me for, if you want to fly me to your restaurant for a couple days to troubleshoot your food cost or train your chef or write a training program or do your beverage program or train your staff on hospitality, consulting is very expensive because you're trading your time for it, right? And so if you want to hire me as a consultant, I'll come $1,000 a day. But my coaching services are a lot less expensive than that because it's an ongoing 90-day program where in 90 days we focus on people, product, processes, purchasing, and profit. And purchasing includes what the guest purchases, so sales and revenue, as well as what you purchase. And so if I'm doing that as more of like an instructor or a coach, and I'm not doing all the work, it doesn't require as much of my time. I do mindset coaching. If you want me to work with your GM or your chef, I can do that. But the plan that we put together, we work together. I don't do all the work. And by doing that, you can actually hire me for 90 days for less than what you would pay a full-time hostess for 90 days.
Well, I was going to say that even on the consulting side of it, I think there might be a thought that it's too expensive, but the downside of that is if you don't invest in yourself or your business and or your staff with coaching or consulting or a 1 or 2 day or 3 day or 5 day of come and take a hard look at what we're doing, the expense of not doing it is massive. You just said,
I walked into a restaurant for a day. This was back during COVID. And I said, why are those 4 tables pushed together? And they said, well, we have the 6-foot rule. I said, okay, I understand you have a 6-foot rule, but I spent the day watching how the floor got set. And there would be a 2-top sitting in a 20-top, wasting all that extra space, right? There would be you'd have a 5 top on the 20 top, and then a 10 top would walk in, and you had no place to put them, right? And they would turn around and leave. So I said, look, let's just remove some of these tables, because I charted like every 15 minutes how many people came in and what size were the parties, and I'm like, your restaurant is serving parties of 2, parties of 3, parties of 4, parties of 5. That's it. Occasionally you get a 10 top, right? So we can have 2 4 tops 6 feet apart, and if a 10 top walks in, push them together, right? And get rid of these extra ones so we fulfill the 6-foot rule. And we actually had less seats available, but they started doing 10 extra covers a turn. And when you do, 2 covers at lunch and 4 at dinner, that's 6 turns. That's 60 extra guests. And so their sales went up. I think the check average there was $25. Their sales went up $1,500 a day, because I was in that building, able to see that and make that adjustment. Going in the kitchen and watching, the productivity level, and being able to say, hey, what if you do this way? So to your point, yes, you pay me $2,000 to come in your restaurant for 2 days. You're going to benefit. This one restaurant's reaping. That was just one thing I did that day. That only one thing.
No, exactly.
More, but it raised their sales $1,500 a day
every day going forward.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So the payback's a week.
But what I'm saying too, my point about the coaching is, you can bring me in for 2 days as a consultant.
Yeah.
Which, if that's all you need, you come in, boom, get out. But most people need that constant mindset coaching and everything else. You can get me for 90 days for the same price you would pay for me to come to your restaurant for 2 days.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, Jay talks about this a lot. In any, I don't have an official coach myself, and I'm thinking about it though right now, but in any industry you're in, you need that. You went, you just did the book. The Christian's team helped you get there, and if you're going to do another one, I'm sure you're going to engage them again.
Yes,
right. You know what I mean. You're not going to not do it that way because it was successful and it helped. Yeah. So in any industry, if we're not willing to go out and to talk to other people and listen and be coached or mentored or whatever you want to call it, just at least get out of your comfort zone and go see what's going on, or have somebody tell you with a fresh set of eyes what's going on, because we're like you said, you're stuck in the weeds. Sorry, Jay, I'll shut up now.
No, don't shut up.
Jay needs to write a book on podcasting and how to podcast, right? Because he's an expert at that, and he's helped me immensely with my podcast. I couldn't do the things he does for me, and if you think about it, why wouldn't you hire Jay to teach you how to do one? Why wouldn't you hire Dominic to troubleshoot and make sure that your restaurant is never going to get a bad health score, right? Why not hire?
I don't know. Dominic's a pretty good coach.
Yeah.
How many times I call you a day?
I hired him to do my podcast, Monty. I did, actually.
Yeah.
I know, which we have to get going again on.
Now you can do it with a cigar in your mouth. And really be
but somebody else does that. We had somebody on our show that does the cigar thing, so I don't know if I could do that.
That was Michael.
Yeah.
King of Fish. So anyways, Monty, we got to keep trucking here. So I do have some questions here. I have questions, Dominic. I planned.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks. I call him like 5 times a day to coach me. So, and I'm never right. That's the scary thing. So if you are looking for a coach, you get a person like Dominic, he usually corrects everything. The few times he's like, I wouldn't have done that.
Age, time, experience equals wisdom, Jay. In 10 years, you'll know all this stuff we know.
Solar paneling for our brain.
Yeah, apparently. Anyways, here you go, Monty. So I got some questions because you have been in the industry forever. And I've got some questions here, yes or no questions. So you don't need a long thing, just yes or no.
Okay.
Did you always want to work in the restaurant industry?
Yes.
Really?
Keep going.
Sorry.
Let him answer.
Have you faced a significant challenge in your career that changed your perspective?
I try to gather as much information as I can. I bring in people that I trust and bounce the ideas off of them, and then look for a creative solution utilizing all the talented people on my team.
You think he said how, but he said have you.
Oh. Yes.
I was going to say, fuck, you gave me shit for an answer, and he goes right into it. Anyways.
How about when you were in the valley? What happened? What was the valley of your career when you said you were pretty down low?
So there's been peaks and valleys throughout my career. 4 years in, I became a GM for Wolfgang Puck. So very, very fast.
Are you having something to eat?
No, I'm getting sorry.
Why is it so loud? What is that?
It's crunching paper.
I know. Is it like sandpaper?
So
I've never heard that.
4 years in, I was a GM for Wolfgang Puck, so a very fast rise to the top. But I was working 90 hours a week, running 2 restaurants. So I went through divorce. I went through burnout. I decided to move to Vegas and go back to waiting tables, and I did that for 4 years. And then when I moved to Nashville, they're like, okay, they didn't like the response that I burned out and got divorced and wanted to recalibrate.
Really?
They thought, you left a GM position for Wolfgang Puck. What's wrong with you, right? And so I just started again at the bottom and work as a service manager again. And then I rose in Nashville. I rose up to, GM and director of ops, and I was sitting at the top again. I was sitting on the glass at hockey games and in boxes at football games or the 50-yard line, and eating at the best restaurants that my friends owned, and drinking great bourbon with millionaires and athletes and celebrities, and was like living the dream. And then COVID hit and my position was eliminated and I couldn't get work in Nashville. And then I moved to Tampa and had a really bad experience in management in Tampa. And then, through all of that, kept working the side hustle of coaching until
I remember the phone call.
Yeah.
I remember the phone call. What?
I called you last November.
Yeah, I remember the phone call. Yeah. I said, go do it.
Yeah. So, there's ups and downs throughout the career. So those were.
I probably called Dominic to ask, should I tell Monty to go do it? I probably called him. Okay, so let's go back. We got 10 more questions, or right. 8 more questions. I can't even add today. Okay, is the hospitality industry your favorite field to work in?
Yes.
Do you regularly follow the latest trends in the restaurant industry?
No.
Oh, fuck, see? You didn't know that, Dom,
did you? No, I knew that was coming, because I don't think he's not that type of guy. And
would you...
That's part of his success. Sorry, keep going.
No. Do you want to pull your 10 questions out you didn't do?
Here's the only reason why. Usually by the time you're following a trend, it's already hit the bell curve.
Yeah.
And everybody's doing it. I'm always trying to look ahead further down the road and do what people aren't doing.
Would you recommend a career in the restaurant industry to young professionals today?
Yes.
Have you had a dining experience that deeply influenced your approach to hospitality?
Yes.
What was it?
I'm going to come back to that. Oh, keep going.
I know, but I want that one. We can pause. There's no rules.
So there's been a couple, but I'm just going to tell you about one sitting at a bar. I sat at a bar in Nashville. The bartender did not know who I was, and I asked him a couple questions. I'm like, hey, what's a good cocktail you recommend? And he started asking me questions back. Do you like brown spirits? Do you like white spirits? Do you like, and so he through his discovery, he found out that my two favorite cocktails were a Boulevardier and a Sazerac. And so he said, you know that the Boulevardier, we started with the Sazerac. He said, you know, the Sazerac originally in New Orleans was cognac, was the spirit, not rye. And I said, yeah, I did know that. And he said, yeah, you know, when it moved to Kentucky, Sazerac became the rye. It came with rye. He said, would you like rye or cognac? And then he said, before I can answer, I like to put half and half. And so I said, I'll try it. Imagine my excitement when my favorite cocktail in the world just got better.
Wow.
And Monty you're one of, no, you told me this not that long ago, but you're also one of the only people in the United States with a certification in tequila. Is that right?
No, I'm not one of the only ones, but
but you have
to be, you have to be certified by the Mexican.
Dominic's crying. He's so emotional about that.
Yeah. You have to actually be certified by the Mexican government. There's not a million.
Yeah, there's like 5 of you in 400 million. Yeah.
But anyway, so think about this. He just made my best cocktail ever. So now whenever I have a bar here, whenever I make a Sazerac at home, that's how I make it. Right?
Really? So that was the moment.
Yeah. And then he said, okay, Boulevardier, have you ever had that with scotch instead of rye? And I said, no, I never have. And he made it for me, and it was the peat in that gave it a nice smoky kind of complexity. I still like it with rye better because of the spice notes in rye. But I torched an orange peel and put it in the Boulevardier to get that smokiness that I tasted from the scotch, but I still prefer the spicy notes of the rye. And so basically he changed the way I make my 2 favorite cocktails. And I handed him my wallet, and I'm like, just take whatever you want out of it. Like it didn't matter. And that's because when we talk about value and hospitality experiences, value is paying less for something than what it's worth, right? This guy just changed the way I drink my 2 favorite cocktails. That's worth more than just those 2 drinks to me, right? And so that was one of those, this guy cares enough about me to take me on this beverage journey and completely change the way I look at cocktails. So
cool.
Was that your question, Dominic?
No, that wasn't my question. I'm glad. No. I'm glad you asked him for, hey, what was it that was an exceptional experience, right?
He cared enough about me more than anything. Yeah. He cared about me and my experience. And
well, that's you. When we talked before, we've talked a couple times. You've talked about, caring is important, right? Because, and then it comes to knowledge, and he was obviously knowledgeable too, which I think.
Well, I think the other thing I want to bring to that attention around that is, this is what's so great about our industry. How long ago was that, Monty? Quite a while ago?
Yeah, 20.
Yeah. So these are the things that I think we have to understand is how powerful an experience can be that lasts 20 years later, right?
Yeah.
And I think when you look at the whole thing as we wrap up today, because we got to get going here, is the fact that our industry is so precious to be able to change people's perspectives or experiences or just do something different that leaves a memory forever. That's the power of our industry. And that's the beauty of it. Now, it could be a drink, it could be a meal, it could be an experience, good or bad. There's a lot of power here that I think, as we wrap up on this whole launch of Monty's book, the power of a coach and the power of someone with the expertise of Monty for your business growth moving forward, I think is a must today. So you can have those. You want to be the restaurant that leaves those experiences like Monty did 20 years ago. And I think that's so important as we, figure out what's wrong with the DNA of our industry and why are we not profitable? Why do we have closure rates? Why is it 80% failure rate and all these things? I think the more and more as we understand that the base purpose is to create experiences for people, you're going to win all the time. But we forget about that.
To your point and what Dominic said earlier, like What's the harm in having a coach? Oprah Winfrey has a coach. Brendon Burchard was her coach. She's one of the most successful business people on the planet, and she had a coach, right? Carrie Underwood, one of the best voices ever, had a vocal coach, right? Tom Brady had a trainer, right? The greatest, most successful high-performance people have a coach that pushes them to be their best. And that's what I do. I just want my clients to show up every day to be the best version of themselves, try to improve by 1% every day, and they're going to be successful.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Monte, sorry.
Isn't there?
I got a few more, but I just we got to wrap it up. It's going to be like a 2-part series or a 10-part series by the time.
Let's just do yes and no.
Do you want one more question? Is that what you're asking, Dominic?
Were they getting better or worse?
No, they're getting better. Were they getting? Were they getting worse? Is that what you're saying? Did I start out strong and they were going shitty?
They're all strong questions.
Oh my good lord!
Yes and no. We won't dilly dally.
Is it important to build a strong team culture in your restaurant?
Yes.
Do you think technology is essential for the future of the restaurant industry?
Yes.
Are you currently working on any other exciting projects that no one else knows?
Yes.
What can I ask if they are? Because we'll be another part. We'll leave it there. Let's leave it there, and we'll have Monte back, Dom.
Sure.
Are you okay? Like you're tearing up a lot today.
No, I'm not. I'm emotional and happy that Monte's here and
I know
a little bit of time with us. And
we had dinner together in Sherrod. We got to meet each other, and we got to. Did we see each other for the first time in Gibson's?
Yep.
Which I do have a steak knife I bought from there. And
dinner we had in Gibson's in Chicago was the only time we physically met in person. But you and I call each other at 6 a.m. or 10 at night. So I think we've gone beyond that. Oh yeah, there it is.
Remember that, Monte?
Remember our server?
Oh, it was incredible. There's an experience we won't forget, right?
Yeah.
So. But it's an honor, Monte. To Dominic's point, it's awesome. We're so happy for you to have your own book. I think it's incredible, and I just appreciate you. Knowing you, all the great things you do. I appreciate our 6 a.m. phone calls all the time, and it's outstanding that you have a book now. You're an author. Isn't that cool?
Yeah,
it's kind of cool.
I never thought I'd be a podcaster, a speaker, or an author.
Yeah.
And here you are doing. And the cool thing is you're helping people along the way on top of all of that, right? You're not. It's providing you with a living, I think, but it's also probably very rewarding helping people, right? It's always well,
like his type though. But that's like Monte. Like when you meet Monte, you go like you could say he's definitely all these other things, but he's definitely a coach because he personally cares. He has a caring mind. Like I can only imagine Monte, you ever got mad? Like you don't seem like you're the type to ever get mad.
I do. And I'm not the bar rescue.
And we leave it to those boys.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyways, sorry, Tom.
Monte?
What's that?
Shift Happens, and then there's a subtitle to it. Shift Happens, the book. 7
strategies to help your restaurant crush the new economy.
Very cool.
There you go. All the best, Monte.
When we have them on again, we want to talk about those 7 strategies. Just
yes, we'll get them back. We'll get them back.
I love
because I think that would be something a lot of people want to hear. Then they can go get the book and read about it and get deep into it. But the teaser part of it, just getting people thinking of, here's some things that could help you just look at things a little differently than you are right now.
Yeah.
Thanks so much, Monte.
Thank you.
So you go, Dom.
Yeah,
you haven't said you're batting 100 again in a long time.
Batting 1,000, Jay, not 100.
Is 1,000 better than 100?
Well, 1,000 is better than 100 for sure, but I don't know what the baseball terminology is, so I don't.
I always mess it up. It never fails, eh?
Yeah.
What are you doing? You having a moment?
No, I'm just I was looking at the bus in the background in the cafeteria there at the airport. But and then I remembered that you told me it's an airport. I think
the cafeteria. I still don't. It's not a high school.
Yeah. Okay. it's an airport, isn't it?
It's an airport. Yeah. Right. You've probably been there.
What's on the agenda? What's coming up?
So if everyone's listening to our podcast, you know what, we got some great shows coming up. We're also live from Australia on Tuesday next week, which we are going to record live, but we also are going to put it up into our channels. We also have, it's my own show because Dominic is busy in the morning taking my phone calls, but I'm also launched the AM, not a podcast show, which I'm just talking marketing. I have so much experience in marketing, right? I got to talk about it.
Need a co-host for that one, I guess. Yeah. Okay.
Well, we won't talk about that. And then also, there's a lot of things coming up, but we're not a podcast. We're not a podcast.
We didn't say that enough. You know what? I thought we had this locked down.
I know. We have to we're going to have to maybe trademark it. I'm thinking we probably should.
Who's in charge of that? Isn't our marketing guy in charge of that?
I know.
Trademark. But you know what? Trademark, we have to apply separately in the U.S. So I think
So do you do trademark in Canada and one in the U.S.?
Have to, yeah, for sure.
Really?
Yeah, 100%.
Do you? Is it hard to trademark a pretty common terminology like not a podcast?
SafeCheck's trademark, and there's TM and then there's the DR. And once you apply for the trademark first, and then when it gets registered, you get to put the R. So SafeCheck is a registered mark.
Holy shoot.
Yeah, I know. I spent a lot of effing money.
That sounds like a lot of money. Sounds like a lot of money. I smell stuff.
Then you got to chase people that are infringing on your mark.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
You like that?
No, I hate it because
I know, but
Monte said, right? There's 7 other books that said shift happens, and then you know what? In that space when he said that, when he gave it the subtitle, to me that told me, okay, I need this book because it told me what I'm going to get. It told me it's going to help me do this, and that's restaurant.
So Monte, you got to call Christian up. Tom wants the title for it.
No, I think it's
well, you could have coached him. You could have coached him.
His title's excellent.
I know his title. I know.
It's going to be an awesome.
Well, it's a good column. Anyways. Yeah. Alrighty. So, thanks again to everyone else that enjoys this podcast. Are you okay? Like, you look a little tired.
I'm feeling great, man.
Are you? Yeah. Are you going to be on the show tomorrow?
I'm on the show tomorrow.
I don't want a 6:59 phone call either, or text. I can't make it.
Usually, what time?
Tomorrow's earlier, so tomorrow's an earlier recording. Okay. So not 10 minutes before, because if it is, that's okay. I can go grab my backup co-host. But apparently everyone likes you, and now that you've got this GOAT title now too. I was at an event and you came up. I can't believe it. Like, it wasn't, oh, Jay, I love your show. Where's Dominic? What, are you kidding me? I was like, anyways, everyone else have a great evening and enjoy our podcast. Not a podcast.
Not a podcast.
Fuck, I gotta get that fucking right. All right. Cheerio.
Yeah, well, yeah. How many times have you said it more than me? That it's not a podcast? Quite a few, I think.
Well, I've said it. It is a podcast a lot more, though, and I'd probably mess the shit up. Anyways.
Thanks again.
Thanks again. Cheers.